Should I take another call?
No, you should talk to Larry the Cable Guy.
Yes. Let's do it. Get her done!
Well, Gavin Mcinnes, hey, I'm proud of your boy.
You're proud of your boy. Wow, I'd love to hear that song in Larry.
I'm proud of your boy. Yes, I am.
That's not how it goes.
Well, I know that. I know the first part.
Yeah, that's all you need. Real, it's actually real. I've been trying to learn it for months, and there's all these little side parts like "Call me a gold brick, a loafer, no ma'am." It takes about a year to learn.
Let me just say, I'm happy to be on with you. You are my favorite political pundit on television.
Oh, stop.
You are my favorite guy out there.
Well, then I'm not going to do the huge expose I had planned. I have documents from Washington that says that you're not a cable guy, and your name is Dan Whitney.
Are you shitting me?
You're caught.
Who told you that?
The jig is up, Dan.
Gee, you know what? I figured the jig was up back when I did a 60 Minutes interview as Dan, and Wikipedia has me as Dan. You know, I think it's really funny that some people go, I can't believe that his real name's not Larry. Like, you know, like my real name's the Cable Guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's my Christian name. That was my given name, the Cable Guy. I find that kind of crazy, too. Hey, let me just say, you know, I'm a one-liner comedian, Gavin, so I got to start off with just two quick jokes that I wrote, if you'd like to hear them.
Yes, please. They better be funny.
The Carolina Panthers are going to the Super Bowl, and it's very awesome that they're going to the Super Bowl, but I think even if they lose, they're still going to hold a record for having the only black guy in the country named Cameron.
Good.
And China just ended its one-child policy. So be careful on the roads out there.
You know, I talked to a New York cop, and he said the number of accidents in Chinatown in New York is about quadruple anywhere else in the city. He said we're constantly going down there.
Well, you know, people get mad because you do jokes like that, but you know, stereotypes happen because sometimes that's what happens. I mean, it's a well-known fact that a lot of Asian people can't drive cars.
I don't know why. I'll never figure it out. In Vancouver, there's a lot of them, and they have a saying up there. They go, Chinese driver, no survivor.
Yeah, they can't drive cars, and women in my family. Other than that, everybody else is pretty good.
No women can drive any car. Hey, Larry, I wanted to get super serious with you now.
Yes, sir.
Larry the Cable Guy, I see as a very polarizing figure, and really, because the South loves him, and the Northerners, especially the sort of creative anti-Trump types, really hate him.
Well, I wouldn't say. Look, I've been around for a long time, Gavin. I mean, I've been. You know, I'm one of the only comedians that have done arena shows for 8 years straight. I think the longest before that was, I think Steve Martin did them for 2. I think Dice Clay did them for a couple. So I was doing arenas for 8 years. And my following was good everywhere. My following was good in the South. My following was good in the Northeast. I did real good in upstate New York. I did great in Baltimore, Maryland. My largest show I ever did singly on my own was at the Mariner Center in Baltimore, Maryland, where I did almost 13,200 people in one night.
Crap.
And that all stems from just me being on the radio and pushing my comedy on radio all those years. So, you know, that's a lot of people that say things about my act or say things about my show. They don't even come to my show. They have no idea what my show's about. They just, I had 2 kind of different careers with Larry the Cable Guy. And I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but let me just tell you. I had a radio career and I had my stand-up career. And the whole Larry the Cable Guy thing started on the radio, and it was all theater of the mind. And I used to do social commentaries with the theater of the mind. And in my stage act, I never got real political. I mean, I was always a one-liner comedian. I loved one-liner comics, and it was all boom, 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 quick stuff. And so then I became Larry the Cable Guy because I could sell tickets being Larry the Cable Guy, and it was a fun thing for me to do. It made me write jokes. It made me be a better comedian, and so I kind of incorporated the two things. So most of the people that say stuff about my act only remember me from doing stuff on the radio,
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this sort of creative class, Upper West Siders, the liberals. They have this view of rednecks and white men that is just so full of disdain. Like when we had that thing in Oregon, where these guys go to jail for lighting brush fires that all ranchers have to do. It gets called arson. They serve their time. Then they go, oh, wait a minute. Technically, that's terrorism. You have to come back to prison now. So they take over a federal building. It's like textbook definition American rebellion, but the media doesn't run with it, and no one gets excited about it because they look like Larry the Cable Guy. And now if they were black and they had berets on, or they had, cool outfits on, they would have loved it. But there's this sort of underlying northern disdain for your average American guy.
Yeah, I have no idea why that is. I got to tell you, and it was crazy when I started doing stand-up. I mean, all I ever wanted to do was make people laugh, and I grew up in a small pig farm in Nebraska. I'm a country boy from Nebraska, and I moved to Florida when I was 15 and a half years old. So I consider myself about as Southern as a lot of people. I wasn't born there, but I lived in the South for 33 years. And I evolved into the culture of the South. It wasn't much different than where I grew up, except they had accents and we didn't have accents. We all did the same stuff. So I didn't really consider it much different, but I never really got that either. When I started doing stand-up and I was doing really good, I remember Foxworthy said to me, he said, let me tell you something. He goes, you're going to do really good out there. People are going to love you. People are going to laugh with you. People are going to come to your shows, but never, ever, ever think or get an idea in your head that you are ever going to win any awards, that you're ever going to get any accolades from media. Never think that, because that's not going to happen. And that's true. It never happens, Gavin, and it's crazy. They portray anybody that has a Southern accent and is a white comedian with a Southern accent. They think we're in the Klan. And it's literally the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'll be honest, when I was doing stand-up comedy, I did it all over the South. I did it all in Florida. And I really think that there was more racism coming out of the North, coming out of like Massachusetts, coming out of Boston, coming out of Milwaukee. I mean, there's still places in those areas that are still segregated. I mean, you still can't go into certain areas if you're anybody.
Well, they say that Northerners love blacks in theory but hate them in practice, and Southerners hate blacks in theory but love them in practice. And I know as a Canadian, I had the stereotype in my head. Oh, I'm going to go to the South. They don't believe in dinosaurs. They throw gays off of buildings, and they drag people behind trucks. Then you go down there, and they go, "Hi, how you doing? Come on in. You want a drink?"
They're the nicest people in the world, and I love the South. I loved everything about the South. I think there's a disdain in some areas of the country for people holding on to their religious practices. Obviously, it's the Bible Belt, and they believe in God. They believe that God created the world. They believe in all that. And I think there's a disdain for that people think you're stupid if you believe that there's a God that does this. I think people think that you're automatically written off if you think evolution is a fraud, if you don't like global warming, you're automatically written off as an idiot. And, that's not the case. I mean, the South it's awesome, and there's a lot of smart people in the South, and And those values, and I'll say that we hold dear to, because we hold dear to them in the Midwest as well. Those are our belief systems, and the fact that they don't like those belief systems, they just think we're all ignorant and we're all stupid, and that's not true. I think they get an idea of what we believe and they twist it, and
it's just like what you said about the comedy. They'll be snobby about your comedy, but they've never heard it before, and. I don't know if you saw this, but I can think of at least 3 examples where the media has gone down to the South to lampoon them, and it's backfired. They had the woman in a burqa going to NASCAR, and she was wearing a hidden camera, and everyone went, "How you doing? Have a seat. You don't drink, right? Okay." And then there was the guys who went to Tennessee in a diner, and they go, "We have an announcement to make. We're getting married," and everyone in the diner just went, "Congratulations."
Right. Well, that's true.